Let me turn now in terms of future priorities for Labor and end on this point. While as an opposition we currently have an interim front bench, our leadership ballot will be concluded shortly and the lineup of the shadow ministry will be determined soon after that. People in those roles will bring their own focus and style to the position, but I think you can be certain that the Labor opposition will have a big focus firmly placed on the future of broadband in this country. So you'll expect us to hold this government to account every step of the way as the Coalition attempts to reach its major deadline of 9 million premises connected by 30 June 2016. You'll expect us to hold them to account on their key personnel appointments. But you'll know that as people who passionately believe in the economic and social benefits of better broadband, that we'll continue to make the case for a plan that is fundamentally better than what the Coalition offers. We will continue to make that case. The challenge for us all is to shift a supposedly, or now supposedly, technology-agnostic coalition into the believers' camp. Along the way, we need to move the debate from one bogged down in a war of attrition over method to one focused on goal. That is, getting the coalition to embrace the objective of delivering fibre to 93% of homes and premises. And our job as an opposition is made phenomenally easier because we've got a team of people with a deep affinity for the sector. Let me run through the talent that exists in our ranks, building off the pioneering work of Stephen Conroy. You've got Anthony Albanese, you've got Kate Lundy, Sharon Bird, Michelle Rowland, a former lawyer within the sector, Stephen Jones, who, like me, represented employees within the sector, but were also interested in the sector's growth and expansion, Nick Champion, who headed up the Infrastructure and Comms Committee of the last Parliament, and newly elected MP, Tim Watts, ex-Telstra, and again, someone who brings a lot of expertise and a lot of passion for the sector to Labor's ranks. This is a collection of people who believe, as I do, deeply in the value of this sector to our nation's longer-term benefit, and who are committed to tackling what Google's new Australian MD, Maley Carnegie, lamented about recently, where she said, "It's a little bit frustrating in Australia. It feels like we could be on the cusp of renewal, but I'm frustrated that we're not recognising the benefits." Our job, ladies and gentlemen, is to keep a focus on the advantage we get as a nation investing in better broadband. Our job is not to accept the orthodox, our job will be to push for better. It's something we're committed to as a Labor opposition, and it's something we know you're committed to as leaders in your field. Thank you for your time today.
Yeah, look, I'm sure there's going to be quite a lot of questions, but I've got the mic, so I'm going to get in early. We heard from David Kennedy this morning, and he said that the jury was still out in terms of the economic benefits of going over 25 megabits per second. And we also heard from Alcatel-Lucent that the benefits that could be had from fibre can also be had from fibre to the node at 3 to 5 times cheaper cost. So in light of things like that, will you be tweaking, or will Labor be tweaking their broadband policy in light of these developments? And just a second question, will we see resurrection of Stephen Conroy in opposition communications?
Okay, a number of things. Firstly, if I can just speak to policy ahead of personnel, if I can put it that way. Clearly we'll go through a period of reviewing policy across a range of areas, but as I indicated in my words today, I think a lot of us feel very strongly that having a national network, particularly with the goal of 93% of the fibre, then satellite and wireless making up the balance, was an incredibly important one for the country. And when you looked at the contribution of the internet to the nation's economy, you could point to a range of studies that said that it would make a huge difference. And we had, just through the election campaign itself, the work that was commissioned through Deloitte Economics, Access Economics, that showed that the savings by 2020 to households and businesses, in some cases up to $4,000 of productivity improvements, and the savings that could be gained are huge. What it could do for our digital economy, what it could do for jobs, what it could do in terms of changing, as I indicated in my contribution this morning, on a range of other areas, not just economic, but in terms of social and regional development, are massive as well. So we have boiled down to it, as much as there might be people that want to go for the option of fibre to the node and think that that can deliver benefit for the here and now, we're already seeing data growth look to a point where people will overtake the 25 megabits per second advertised plans in due course. We have a global picture painted, for example, I think there was someone here from CSG, I know it's CSC, sorry, the research that I quoted previously. It said worldwide demand expected to grow between 2009 and 2020 by not by 10% or 50%, by 4,300% in terms of data production. So we need to have a network in place that instead of spending the money to bolt on sections of the network after it's built, get it done the first time, properly the first time, which is what we're wanting to do. So I can't obviously preempt any of the policy reviews, but I think there is a deep commitment, and there's certainly a lot of people who recognise that fibre networks cost a lot up front to build, but the operating expense and the profile in due course is completely different to maintaining a copper network and the OPEX that goes with it. So I think, if we're saying that there are limited funds, and the opposition is saying, or coalition I should say, geez, old habits to heart. The coalition are saying they'll put in 29 bill into fibre to the node. We said we'd have 30 bill of government equity. They're putting it into a technology that they know in their heart of hearts is going to get overtaken. I think if we're going to make the investment, we should do it in a way that has long-term meaningful impact. The second part of your question about people like Stephen Conroy, I mean, obviously people like Stephen have made a huge contribution and can continue to make one, but it's the job of the leader to assign whoever wins out of Anthony Albanese or Bill Shorten, who gets what role, and obviously who gets put forward for those positions. We'll just have to wait and see. But I think the other point I very, very quickly wanted to make is the reason I mention all those names is because there are a lot of people within the Labor opposition that think highly, think strongly, believe passionately in the sector, and I think this is a good thing in terms of prosecuting the case and in terms of policy development down the track.
Any other questions from Ed?
Hi Ed, my name is Supratin, I'm a journalist from Business Spectator. Now, I understand the Labor opposition is committed to a fibre to the home solution, but with that commitment, does the Labor Party recognise that there were sufficient delivery problems with regards to the fibre to the home process, which in turn was capitalised and exploited by the coalition? So how do you address those problems, or is there recognition that there is a serious problem, and how do you fix it?
Yeah. Look, I think it's a good question. It's one that I get asked quite regularly when I'm commenting on the media. And I make those, I think there's no point us walking away from the fact that at the start of a very big project that there were big teething problems that we had to deal with. Some from left field, for example, the ACCC, as I've said previously, decision on POI, through to the contractor issues that we did experience as well. But you're going to get that on any major project. Time will also tell as to whether or not the coalition experienced this with the rollout of FTTN. The key is, being able to basically acknowledge that that's a problem and dealing with it, and then being able to accommodate that in your future plans. And the reports that we've seen, what was the likely corporate plan for NBN Co indicated that we're still going to come in on budget. It hasn't touched any of its contingency funds. And we've had to deal with the contractor issues along the way. So we do need to, I think you can't walk away from the fact that there were problems, but again, if you're going to be realistic about that, you also have to be realistic that projects of this size, particularly when it comes to fibre, are going to cost a lot at the start, but over time their value is realised, which is also why, I look at other parts of the world, and I hate to merge two questions into one, but coming back to this point about fibre to the node versus fibre to the premises, while we've got parts of the globe, like in the US, where Google was telling me that they had cities bidding to get their fibre to the premises network, in some instances changing the name of their cities to Google, just for a publicity gimmick, to be able to get attention. We didn't have to go through that here because we had this national plan. And I don't want to sound like someone who says what could have been, because I'm very fixed, and a lot of people are fixed on what should be. And what should be is not necessarily, as I said, committing CPR to a copper network. It should be about building a network that will be able to deal with data production in the years ahead, but also that can be levered off for economic and social benefit.
Thanks very much, Ed. Look, we're hoping Ed will be able to join us for some of the day today, so if there's any more questions, maybe pull him aside and we'll get on with the program. So
Thank you.
very much, Ed.
Thank you very much.